There we go. Okay.
Am I still upside down?
You are not still upside down.
That's good.
Ooh, actually, that gives me an idea for like the gimmick of our Stranger Things episode. We literally just flip the cameras, make it so we're all upside down.
Look at you. Very visual. I like it.
You like
I
it?
like it. Visual.
A visual representation.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Visual. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to You Got Me Monologuing. I'm Tony.
I'm Joey.
I'm Grognard Todd,
All right.
I'm not used to going second.
and I'm not upside down.
You are not. Not at the moment. No,
Not
we
upside down.
fixed that. So,
I was upside down earlier,
try and get myself in frame a little bit better there. There we go.
Hello.
We are a professional
We are-
stream
yeah,
crew.
This
We
is
are-
our designated spot where we sit every time, except that we have to move it around every time because it's not exactly designated.
Yeah,
right.
pretty much.
It's mobile. We're mobile.
We are mobile.
Yeah.
We adapt. We overcome. We're mobile.
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
That's right.
I was gonna say that.
Good job.
What movie's that from? One you've never seen, I promise.
If I had to guess, probably The Maze Runner.
I don't even know if I know what it's from. Let me think. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Clint Eastwood.
Oh.
Definitely
Oh,
not
is
Maze
it?
Runner.
No, hang on. Wait for it. It's the Grenada one, but I can't remember what it's called though. When he's the colonel in Grenada.
Well, not a colonel, no.
he's not? I thought
No,
he was.
he's a gunnery sergeant.
Oh, he's a guy. Sorry.
with Mario Van Peebles.
That's right.
It's oh Jesus, now it's Heartbreak Ridge.
Heartbreak Ridge.
That's what.
And that was like one of the first movies where he really kind of talked like this.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, it's an affect. But then pretty much every movie beyond that, he always talked like that. So that
Right.
was just the first movie where he just started sounding like that all of the time.
It's like 50 years of smoking caught up to him all at once.
Finally, right.
Gonna
Yeah.
blow those pistols or whistle Dixie.
It's a really good movie. Mario Van Peebles' character is really cheesy, and it's got some horribly cheesy
Yeah,
moments.
I don't know if it's a really good movie either, but it's fun to watch.
It's
certainly an
entertaining.
entertaining movie.
Absolutely. So how we been, gentlemen?
Oh, not great.
Really, everybody's been not great.
Yeah.
We're down a man, so he's busy, got stuff going on.
Right?
I've got gout. Joey's been sick. It's been kind of a mess all the way around.
Oh,
Really kind of
yeah.
has.
Jeez Louise.
Ah.
Late summer, everybody's falling apart.
Right
No-
now,
no kidding.
all that's keeping me going is Dayquil.
Yeah. Last week, and Joey's. This has been hanging on for a week for this kid.
Yeah.
It's just been this
2 weeks.
hacking dry cough.
2 weeks now, actually.
Those fun kind of summer colds can
Right.
do that sometimes.
And Spence had it too.
Yeah.
Except
so-
this ain't a cold.
So that's why last week you had the gout and he had the.
Not a cold? What is it?
A virus.
It's some
Not-
sort of.
You know what?
COVID.
You know what a cold is?
It's a virus. Usually.
That's why you can't take antibiotics and get rid of a cold because it's a virus. It's
And-
not a bacterial infection.
Right.
And this is why I'm not a medical professional.
The common cold is simply a descriptor. It just describes any number, variety of probably hundreds of different minor viruses that make you ill. And that's why it's impossible to cure the common cold because it is not a single thing.
And it's
It is
always
just a cold.
evolving.
And it's always like they always talk about, especially like when kids, but anybody can get, if you get red eye, quote unquote, red eye is not a thing. Red eye is a descriptor. It's a virus or a bacteria. That is actually, I think, a bacterial
Bacterial,
infection
yeah,
that
usually-
you get, and it can be a number of different things, and that's why you need antibacterial creams that you put in your eyes and you keep your hands clean and stuff like that because
Most
it could be
times-
anything. It just
most
makes your
times
eyes
it's-
red. That's why it's called red eye.
Most of the time it's fecal matter in
It
your
can
eye.
be, yeah, and that's how you get like stuff like hand, foot, and mouth disease, which
Right.
is a very specific thing. That's not red eye, but a lot of times you can get red eye and it might be that instead, that's always fun.
Isn't it though?
So yeah, and I've got gout. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been periodically unable to get out of my chair, including the 3 days over the 4th of July weekend where I sat in my chair and all my neighbors had barbecues and played volleyball and swam in the pool and drank beer and had a great time in the beautiful, beautiful weather. And then I sat in my chair and watched basically The Boys, which we'll probably talk about.
You have the rich man's disease.
Yes, I'm so rich.
So affluent for running the game
I'm a
store.
man of great means, you know.
And at least you got to sit on your ass while you had to go.
Yeah, well-
I actually had to go to work.
Yeah. Well, I did too, but
Okay, that's fair. But like
Yeah.
on 4th of July,
yeah, 4th of July, I would rather have been out having fun with my neighbors than sitting on the couch, but that's what I
Right.
did all day long. And God love my wife who took care of me, and still even today, like I woke up this morning or last night, I got it again. Like it's the same fit, just keeps coming and coming. So don't get old, people. That's all I'm saying. Don't get old.
Well, last night for me was because I did Fan Expo over the weekend, and it's a lot of standing in lines.
Yeah.
But by Sunday, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in depth. I didn't plan on going Sunday, but I ended up going for a couple of hours to get the Kevin Smith autographs that we were supposed to get Saturday. And by Sunday morning, I'm like, I've got to freaking go in there. I could have gotten the refund, and I'll go into all that in a minute. But instead, I'm like, I'll go in, I'll get the goddamn autographs. It's the only thing I'm doing. I'm going to get there early. I'm going to go right to the booth. I'm going to wait there. I brought a lawn chair with me.
Yeah, right.
I'm
smart.
I'm surprised they let you bring it in, though. A lot of places, a lot of times they won't let you do that kind of stuff.
Yep,
Depends on what it is. But that's awesome, yeah.
So yeah, I sat there in line, and everybody's like, after last night, that was really smart.
Yep.
I'm not fucking around today.
I've done that a few times at different places, and if they let you bring it in, it's always my God, you're a genius. I mean, even at the DMV, like somebody brought a lawn chair at the DMV where you're waiting outside for the first half hour, 45 minutes, and somebody brought a lawn chair, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's so smart!" Like, yeah, and then you just leave it in the grass when you're done, and then you pick it up on your way out.
Right, that's all you got to do.
Like, work smarter, not harder, people.
That's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
Let's see. 4th of July. I spent my 4th of July hiding in the basement with my dogs to try and keep them calm.
Right.
My dogs, they hate all things loud that whole weekend, and you know how our neighborhood gets. They started setting them off Wednesday night.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And not just
week,
not just like little ones. No. There's something off mortars.
Yeah, like So I had to work all of 4th of July weekend, including 4th of July itself. And, like, I could just hear from inside the building all the fireworks going off. And I was just like, oh, fuck, the dogs are going to be sorry, did not mean to swear. Oh, crap, the dogs are going to be a nightmare when I get home.
Yeah, he's being polite.
I miss
enough
Joey.
Yeah, right?
So, I'm like, it's bad this year, right?
Yeah.
And it's been bad the last couple of years. I mean, since the pandemic, I was listening to some podcasts. They were talking about just the general sales of fireworks in the United States to private individuals, and it's more than doubled in the last 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. What it was 3 years ago.
Right.
I mean, it's always been what it kind of is.
Our
But
neighborhood
in the last 2 years, it's more than doubled. Sales have more than to private individuals in the last 2 years. I'm like,
right.
Jeez Louise.
Well, I know, like Elgin, where our home district, they've canceled the fireworks show, or things have been moved to Riverfest, or what have you.
Consolidated them,
right?
Instead of just having them all over the place like they used to have.
Right. I still miss the days when you go over to the sports complex.
Yeah. Yep.
You used to be able to drive over to the sports complex, watch fireworks, go home.
We'd go over to the road, the frontage road there in front of the Sears Center.
Yeah.
And just park there, and same thing, right?
Yeah.
You could just see all the fireworks going off over there. It was awesome.
Honestly, something I found really interesting on 4th of July is that, like, so I left, so I always leave work around 10, and, like, when I left, there was a massive amount of heat lightning going off in the sky, and, like, somehow it created an even more impressive light show than the fireworks ever could.
Yeah.
Like,
completely get that.
Yeah, like, it was all flashy and stuff. I could even see some of the bolts in the clouds.
That's always cool.
Yeah, heat lightning is definitely one of the coolest natural occurrences.
I didn't see any of that because I had gout.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
That's okay. I'm just being an old man. An old guy. And anymore, when I get together with my friends that, we're all the same age, we spend the first half an hour just comparing notes.
Yeah, it's like
what do you got?
notes.
I got some gout. What do you got? Oh, I sprained my whatever. I got this, or I got
the
rheumatoid, yada,
diabetes.
yada. I got the beatus. I got the... Everybody's got something.
I threw out my back.
Threw out something, yeah. If it's not my
bones
back,
in
it's...
my ankles have become hollow.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good times. So you have that to look forward to, Joey.
Yeah.
Enjoy
That's why I'm trying to tell you now.
Yeah.
Start developing good habits. Take better care of yourself than I did, because this sucks.
This is what you have to look forward to. This
It
is
looks
you in a
good.
few years.
Don't get me wrong.
Well,
this looks good.
You are at peak Tony.
Yeah.
So.
I am peak Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But
You
then
are peak
again,
Tony.
we are living in an age of great technology, and by the time I'm your age, cybernetic enhancements might actually be a thing.
All right.
Well, keep wishing about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that I bet on that.
I should have. I should have my flying car by now, but I don't.
Right? I'm very disappointed I don't have my flying car yet.
Right?
I would just.
I was told there'd be flying cars.
I kind of
I want to know where they're at.
I kind of love seeing those memes on the internet where it's just like people in the 80s. But I bet we'll have flying cars in the future. And then 2020, it just shows technology absolutely failing. Like one of those face captures reading a cat, but it says it's a dog.
What are you talking about? Were you drinking
Joey,
on the
I
way
missed
in
you
here?
so much, Joey. That was an interesting sentence right there.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Was awesome.
Anyhow. So let's. What else has been going on?
Other than that,
Todd,
so I got a
2
lot of
weeks
TV
ago-
watching.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Todd was kind enough. Not only did he take his employees, but he took his friends and Joey to.
Oh yeah, that was why we missed the last
Wait,
time
what?
we recorded, right?
You said friends and Joey.
Right, he took his
My friends and Joey
to medieval times.
Okay.
Everybody knows what medieval times is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Dinner and tournament.
tournament.
I always get that wrong. I always say it wrong. Dinner and tournament, right?
Yes. It was a good time.
It's fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
the food was okay. The skin could have been a little bit crispier on that chicken, man. There's nothing worse than rubber chicken skin.
I mean,
Honestly,
come
the
on.
problem for me was the spice mix. Like, that hit me like a truck, but like not in one of the good ways.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been the same meal for 50 years, so
Yeah.
you know.
I would have sworn that they used to do turkey legs. I would have sworn that I had last time I was there. I had a turkey leg. and
Maybe
not-
I don't know.
not
Chicken is so much, easier for everybody,
Well, yeah.
right? Everybody likes chicken, but yeah,
yeah,
the only thing I couldn't eat was the corn on the cob. Like that was sad and pathetic. So
Yeah.
I couldn't eat that, but the rest of it was just fine. The soup was actually kind of shockingly good. It's like just plain tomato
Tomato
soup, but it was shockingly good.
Excuse me. The dragon's blood.
The dragon's blood.
Oh,
Yeah,
our,
the
our,
fact
our
that
silly
they-
little waitress.
She was
so
good though.
cute.
She really,
They
sells
themed
it.
everything after dragons.
Yes, everything is a dragon.
Oh, it's dragon scales, but it looks like a potato.
No. The scales were the corn on the cob.
There you
Oh,
go.
is that what it was?
But like,
What was the potato?
I think that was a dragon's egg, wasn't it?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, the
yeah,
dragon
dragon's egg.
But the fact that the corn was dragon scales means they killed a gold dragon, one of the good guys.
That's right.
What was the bread?
That was just bread, I think.
That was just bread.
It's just bread. Here, you want some bread to go with
Yeah.
your dragon's blood.
And of course,
I mean,
they don't give you
I mean, hey,
utensils
the
because
Pepsi was dirty mill water. Like not everything was dragon themed, but it was medieval.
they don't give you utensils because, of course, they didn't have utensils in medieval times.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. That's not accurate.
no,
They had
Oh,
utensils in medieval
oh,
times.
sure, but and if you're gonna do that, at least give us a trencher. Give us a proper trencher.
Something, right? Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
hell, in Lord of the Rings, Denethor was using utensils to eat while he sent his soldiers to die.
And we all know that's historically accurate.
Absolutely.
We all know that.
Okay, it's medieval. It's medieval.
It's fantasy.
Medieval. Yes. Okay. Anyway,
It's not.
Medieval fantasy.
it's medieval fantasy. There you
Okay,
go. Okay.
fair
fine.
enough.
It's fine. Just let him have this one. You're right, Joey.
We love you, kid.
Thank you. I love you guys
we
too.
make fun of you because we love you.
Yeah, I know.
Lots of people make fun of me because I love you.
Yeah.
What?
Hello. Hello.
Anyway.
So yeah, so it was fun for me to take everybody, the store, all the employees, and then a +1 for any employee, and then we had some of our good friends, and I took the podcast and some of their +1s, and so yeah, it was a good time. It's just kind of fun to get out and do something different every once in a while.
Yeah.
I had not been to medieval times, and I mean 20 years probably. I can't.
That's about it.
I think when we talked about it the last time I went was actually in Las Vegas. The Excalibur out there does the same thing, dinner and tournament, but it's just Vegas style. But that's the last time I did it, and that was before my kids were born, so that's more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of show, and it's
Yeah.
fun, and it's very similar to like the joust show at the Renaissance
Ren Fair, yep.
Except they do it all in 2 hours as opposed to multiple sections. But
Right.
But it's fun and it's entertaining, and if you get into it a little bit, it can be exciting, and you know what to expect, but it's fun to root for your guy and just do something different. And some of my friends had not been before, so it was neat. It's always fun to take somebody who's never been before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We used to go to the Renaissance Fair every year before we had kids, and we would take somebody new every year because it was always fun to kind of re-experience the fair through their eyes. And inevitably or invariably, every time we would go, they would get hooked and they would want to go every year because it's so fun. And they would go, and we would bring people that were like, that's for nerds, right? The Renaissance Fair, that's like for nerds and stuff. And
That's what my wife says.
And then we'd bring them. Well, it kind of is, but then we would bring people who would be like, I don't want to go to that. That's for nerd stuff. And then we'd bring them. We'd make them come and like,
Right.
I'll buy you a beer, right?
Yeah.
I'll pay for your ticket. I'll buy you a beer. And then the next year they're dressing up and they're doing the whole thing and they're reenacting. So,
Right.
you know, it's kind of one of those things where you get people there and it's cool. It's a lot of fun.
Everyone except for my wife.
Well, and again, my wife they're the same human being, so they're
Right.
kind of, she doesn't not enjoy, like she enjoys going and seeing some of the shows, and that's the kind of thing, but it's not like something she looks forward to every year and is bugging me, you know, this time you're going, hey, the fair just opened, when are we going this year? If I
Right.
say, hey, let's go to the fair for my birthday, she says, okay, sounds fun, you know, we'll go, but she never brings it up.
No.
Yeah.
See, my wife's reaction, I'd be like, hey, let's go to the fair. Can you just go with the kids?
Can you,
Take the kids?
fine,
Yeah.
fine, that's fine.
One day we shall drag her with us.
The last time I went to the Ren Fair, I went with my mother.
Oh, yeah.
And so my mom gets around on an electric scooter most of the time. And some of those dirt inclines
Oh yeah.
were not having it.
They're not very scooter friendly.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Anyway, so what else? What else has been going on? I mean, I've been so busy. I've been, getting prepped for Fan Expo because I did a lot of pressing. And I overall, the show was just okay.
When you say you did a lot of pressing,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Comic
So I was
books.
taking comic books for autographs.
Okay.
So they could be graded. So
so you're pressing them before you get them autographed?
Yeah,
Is there a
so-
reason for that specifically?
yes, because when you have them CGC authenticated for autograph, you take them, you have them signed, and then you give them to CGC, and they take them away.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I wanted to
you
make
do it
sure-
at the show.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Right.
You don't
So-
have to mail them away or anything.
No. So it usually saves you on postage. 'cause
Sure.
You don't
yeah.
have to send
They're there. Yeah.
Right.
So how many did you get graded?
Freaking none.
Oh, really?
Because what so that the problem that I had with the show, and the show can't always control it, they had so many freaking cancellations in this show, and a lot of them were at the last minute.
Yeah.
So one of the writers that I was going to see specifically,
Celebrity cancellations, artist cancellations.
artist, I was going for Brian Michael Bendis. Brian Michael Bendis, he created Ultimate Spider-Man, which means he created Miles Morales. He had a long run on Daredevil. He created Ironheart in the Iron Man line. He's got he did 20 years with Marvel, or almost 20 years with Marvel.
Sounds pretty cool.
He's a sweetheart of a guy. Had a family emergency. Two of the books that I were going to have graded were his. So it's like, well, okay. The other one that I chose not to have graded, because I was going to take to the signing. I found some books that I wanted, and I found someone who was willing to give me a fair market value on that book at the show. So rather than, because I came out a little bit ahead as far as actual value goes. I think the book that I ended up getting in trade is a little about $15, $20 more valuable than the one I traded to
You
them.
guys order food?
No.
No?
There's a DoorDash here, and it's for nobody in the store. So Adrian G.
Yeah, Adrian Garvin is at home probably.
Did he?
Did he put the store address
Call
on
him
there?
real quick.
Oh,
You got his number?
wow,
I
okay.
don't have his number.
All right, I'll be right back, gentlemen.
So continue on about the comic grading and stuff.
So I actually found a dealer who was willing to give me a fair market value on the book. The hardest thing about doing books at a show and dealing with dealers is they need to make money too. The value of the book that I traded in was about $20 more than the value of the book that I got, but the book that I got he'd had for a while and he was having a hard time moving, and the Spawn book that I traded to him, he already had a buyer for it before the end of the weekend.
Ooh.
It was something that he'd be able to move much more quickly. So, the $100 that he was able to make off of my book was worth more to him than the $120 that he was charging for the book that sat on his wall.
I wonder
It
if
wasn't going anywhere.
there are any Spawn comics out there that have been signed by Keith David. That'd be pretty cool.
Why would Keith David?
He voiced Spawn in the 90s animated series.
There may be some. There may be some of the. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You haven't even watched that show yet, have you?
No, but Keith David didn't come back to reprise his role as Spawn in Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, of course. Everything comes back to video games for you, kid.
Oh, hell yeah, man. They are my lifeblood, basically.
Okay, I thought he was coming back. So the Fan Expo is a company. Well, actually, I'm going to back up a little bit, give you a little bit of history.
Yeah.
Chicago Comic-Con started 50 years ago, 1972. All right. And the Chicago Comic-Con ran, and for a while it was run by, do you remember Moondogs Comics here in the Chicagoland area?
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that part of Keith's Comics? Or that
Well,
was
I think Keith bought
Left.
a Moondogs location.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Because Moondogs ended up closing in the mid 80s, maybe early 90s.
Yeah, it's a little before my time, but I've heard of it.
The stores split up. Like the Dreamlands were Moondogs at one point.
Ah, gotcha.
So Chicago Comic-Con started 50 years ago, and in 1997, actually in 96, it was bought out by Wizard Magazine. And they started doing what everyone came to know as Wizard World conventions. Right. And it started with Wizard World Chicago, and then they expanded to Wizard World Philadelphia, and then Wizard World Texas. And then they're like, hey, we should do this everywhere all at once. So the Wizard brand kind of expanded and contracted several times. At one point they were doing 15 shows a year across the country, and then all of a sudden, oh, we can't support this, so they dropped down to 5 shows again, and they started building them back up. The problem is when you dilute it like that, it's like, oh, we need to have guests for 15 shows, so each individual show gets a little bit more and a little more crappy.
Right.
Because you can't bring in 25 guests each show. You'll bring in 3 big name guests because you want to spread them out. And that's kind of been the MO for the last 15 years. You'll get a couple of good comic book guests, but for the most part, your badge is about worthless because you're going to see 3 or 4 comic book artists, and then everything else is either the flea market or the
internet.
B, C, D list celebrities, right? And last year, Fan Expo bought the remaining Wizard shows. Wizard shows have been on the decline, and Fan Expo runs MegaCon in Orlando was the big one, and then Fan Expo Toronto. Well, now they're up to 10 shows, and this is I went to this hoping for better, and I didn't get much better. I had some, as the comic nerd, there were about 15 comic book vendors at the show total.
Is that a lot or not a lot?
No,
it's not a lot.
It's like
I have no frame of reference, right? 5 might be a lot to me. Like I have no idea.
Imagine going to Gen Con and you find 5 board game dealers, and everybody else is selling tchotchkes.
Gotcha, right.
That's essentially what it was. It was a lot of anime, and it was a lot. And the thing that pissed me off, fucking bootleg Blu-rays.
Right.
Again.
Right.
I'm like, I thought we were done seeing all this bootleg merchandise.
Well, and how did they even let them in? I mean, that should be not even legal, right? The organizers should not allow that. They should be shutting those people down. And in fact, I saw that happen at Gen Con many years ago. Somebody came in and had a bunch of bootlegs, and they shut him down and kicked him out, like on the spot.
Right. And that's exactly what should happen. Because bootleg, I mean, it'd be one thing if it were, hey, we got these couple of, no. It was an
entire booth full of that stuff.
Of Ted Lasso season 1 and 2. It's like, really?
Yeah, right.
You're not even trying here.
Right, yeah.
And
it's not the flea market, bro.
Right. Yeah. And the convention lets them in. So you never know what kind of merchandise you're going to pick up that's bootleg, where that money's going. Are the creators getting, bootleg DVDs, obviously not being made, money's not being made by the right people. So it's frustrating. Like I said, imagine walking into Gen Con and there are only 15 game dealers.
Right, yeah.
That's how I felt walking into this place. As far as the comic creators go, it was a decent slate of high-end creators, and then there was almost nothing. So you get the big names, and then you get the bottom feeders, and there was almost nothing in between. Either it was this rock star celebrity like Mark Silvestri, who I'm sure you've heard his name, or Joe Quesada. You had some big names there.
Silvestri.
He did X-Men. He did X-Men in the 90s.
Yep.
And then he went on to do Witchblade when they created he's one of the original Image creators.
That name, the Silvestri name, does sound familiar, but not for comic books. Something else, I think. I'll have to look.
Oh, there's a composer, a Silvestri, who's a movie composer. I know that. Alan Silvestri.
Oh
maybe?
yeah, maybe. I think you're right.
I think
Google that.
Yeah.
Go on a Google search there, Joey.
The thing that saddened me is that I was at a comic convention. Greg Capullo is probably one of the hottest artists in comics over the last 10 years.
And what does he do?
He's an artist. He drew Batman for 10 years. And anytime I've seen him at any other show, you're waiting an hour and a half.
I found what makes Alan Silvestri sound so familiar.
Yes.
He's the dude who did the score for the Avengers movies.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's why it's in your brain.
Also did Back to the Future, I think.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I was in and out of his line in under 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So is it because it was underattended, you think, or?
I think that's part of it. I think it was.
What day was that?
That was on Saturday.
Saturday, which you would think would be the biggest day.
Right.
Yeah.
The lines were, I mean, I shouldn't complain, right? Because I'm not spending my entire day. Even the two biggest lines were for Joe Quesada and Jeff Johns. And Jeff Johns, huge in the DC world. He wrote the Green Lantern movie.
Sure.
The Stargirl TV show is his.
Sure. Yeah.
Wait, who wrote the...
Jeff Johns. He was an executive producer and co-wrote the Green Lantern movie.
That dude also wrote the really bad Percy Jackson movie.
I don't think it was. I don't think so. I don't think he wrote that.
Looking it up.
Back to the Google.
Back to the Google quote. Even those
IMDb,
lines were
actually.
not
There you go.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that almost makes me sad I didn't go, because one of the reasons not that I go for comic book signatures, but generally speaking, I'm like, because I was thinking about going for other reasons, which we can discuss, but I'm like, I don't know that I can handle a throng of people.
So
Was it busy otherwise? Like, because obviously it was more than just comic books.
It
right?
was
It's more a pop culture thing now.
It is. So your celebrity guests were really interesting this year because they had practically the entire cast of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, right.
So Charlie Hunnam had the worst line of everyone.
That makes sense.
And one of the
Plus,
things,
he's done other stuff, and he's done nerd stuff too.
yes, as was Clayman. What's his name? Hellboy.
Yes,
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman, who's done a million
million
right?
things.
He's really other than the Hobbits. He's probably the one guy that actually would like to, shake his hand and say,
Right.
"Hey, love your stuff."
But you had Ashley Eckstein that was there. Matt Latner was there.
Ooh, nice.
Anthony Daniels was there.
Oh, yeah, right.
From the Star Wars crowd.
About James Arnold Taylor.
No, I don't believe he was.
Damn.
And their lines were, I mean, I've seen their lines so much worse at so many other shows.
Yeah.
And I guess I shouldn't complain, but the complaints that I have revolve around the management of the show. So Kevin Smith was supposed to be there Saturday and Saturday only. His autograph was $70 freaking dollars. And I had 2 comics of his that I wanted signed because one of them is his Daredevil #1 that I already had signed by Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti. He's the only signature missing on it. And then I'm doing what I call a party book. Detective 1000 had about 25 different writers and artists, and I'm collecting autographs on it. And I've probably got a good 15 on there. So Kevin Smith happened to write one of the stories. All right, I can't not have Kevin Smith's autograph on this. So I bought the tickets. I'm like, I was only going to get one, but I bit the bullet and I bought 2.
Nice.
No. So get there, and there, his first signing was supposed to start at 11 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I know that everybody's going to make a mad dash for it. I know he's got an afternoon signing. Let's do this. I'm going to walk over there about 11:30 and see if they've capped the line or see if it's died down. Well, we got over there at 11:30, and not only or 11:15, and the line was already capped, and it was already ridiculous. So I said, okay, I'll come back for the 4 o'clock. So I start wandering over there around 3 o'clock to see what the line was like. And the line, his queue, it queued and queued and queued, and then it turned a corner back toward the Hobbits. I'm like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But don't you? Do
holy
you had to
crap.
buy a ticket though?
Yep.
So then what gives?
They oversold.
Gotcha.
So the manager for the woman who works for Epic Photo Ops, who was managing the Kevin Smith line, despite the fact that they had this ridiculous line, and I'm going to get into what. Let's start here. They had a duo autograph signing for Kevin and Jason Mewes.
Sure, yeah.
Supposed to start at 2:30. Well, Kevin's 11 o'clock
Still going.
was because Kevin Smith talks to everyone.
Gotcha.
So he's slow through that line.
Right.
He spent 5 minutes talking to me.
Right.
And it's a sweetheart. I love him for it. But when you've got someone who's going to be like that,
Yeah. Right.
you stop selling.
Right.
Yeah.
The woman was out there still at 3:30, knowing that they hadn't even been able to start the duos that were supposed to have started an hour earlier.
Collecting money.
And she's still selling duo autographs. And this line is ridiculous. We reach, so the signing that was supposed to start at 2:30 didn't start till 5. The signing that was supposed to start at 4, they're like, don't start lining up for 4 o'clock yet.
Right.
Don't line up for 4 o'clock. Then they're like, okay, go get in line for the 4 o'clock. Well, we took Kevin's line and we took Sean Astin's line because he wasn't there yet.
Right. Yeah.
And then we spilled over into Billy Boyd's line.
Jeez Louise.
And we're all like, how the fuck is this going to happen by 7 o'clock?
Right.
Hey, Captain Sexy, how you doing, brother?
Yes, my friend, we are very much still alive.
So then they come over and they're like, oh,
Barely.
the Hobbits are about to start a signing. We need to clear you guys out.
Yeah, right.
Here's a ticket that guarantees your place in line. Come back like at 5 or 5:30. It's like, okay. Came back, stood there again from 5 o'clock to about 7 when the show is supposed to close. And the line's not moving. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. You could ask 5 different people who were working there and nobody had a clue and nobody was willing to make a decision. At one point, they were doing cash refunds of all those people.
I was just gonna say, I'm assuming you can get a refund. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, I should get a refund. And the other part of me is going, I've got these 2 incomplete books.
Well, if you could get it, great. If
Right.
great. Like you're in for a penny, in for a pound. But if you can't get it, at least you can get a refund.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
I must admit, I respect your determination.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, you're kind of there, right? You've already invested how many hours and hanging out. You might as well. What's another hour and a half, right?
Well, then they're like, well, Kevin. So here's the cool thing that Kevin did was he added times for the next morning. All right, fucking 10:30.
It's Sunday,
I'm like, I wasn't planning on. Well, I even reached out to you. I'm like, do you want our tickets?
right?
And I said, God damn it! All right, I'll get up early. And they're like, we'll probably do a separate queue, like outside, like when we allow people to queue up at 9:30. If you're there, we'll probably ask for who's going for Kevin Smith. I'm like, that would be fucking smart, but okay. I don't trust this. I get up early. I'm out the door by 8. I'm there by 8:30. Oh, no, we're not lining up till 9:30. Oh, 9 o'clock rolls around, and we're lining up now. And I'm asking everybody. I'm like, somebody needs to have a freaking answer for me. I'm like, I'm paying for another day of parking. I don't want to be here right now.
Right, yeah.
I wanted to have this done yesterday. Okay, so Kevin's signing at 10:30 at his booth. There's no special queue. They actually let me in with the VIPs. They're like, queue up with the VIPs.
Squeaky wheel. There you go.
What up?
Hey, saying hi and bye.
Hey, have a seat.
I am by.
Greetings.
I'm about to head out.
A likely excuse.
Rage Against the Machines tonight.
Oh, good for you, man.
And you're not over there already?
I'm leaving now.
Okay. Where are they playing?
Fun.
United Center.
Okay. Well, you best get over there. You're going to miss the opening.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
See you, bud.
Au revoir.
Peace out. Nice meeting you.
So I get there, and they say there's going to be no special queuing for Kevin Smith. I'm like, of course. But I'm the second person in the VIP line. I'm just turning my badge backwards. I'm like, I'm not telling me. That guy told me to go with those people. I went with those people. You're not kicking me out. Nobody's
Right.
going to bitch about this. I got over there, and I was like the 5th person in line. Okay. broke out my chair again, and just kicked back. Kevin's supposed to start signing at 10:30. Well, no. He's doing photo ops at 10:30. He'll be back here at 11:45. We're all like, God damn it. Are you kidding
you
me?
are you're a glutton, man. I would have been gone.
I was
over.
so again, leave it to Kevin Smith to win me back over, because once I got in there, I wasn't angry anymore, because he was,
Sure.
you walked up to him, his hand was out before yours was to
Sure.
shake your hand.
Right.
He was as sweet and gracious as you want to believe he is. But everything leading up to it, I wanted to strangle every
Every human
fucking
being I
person
talk to.
that I talked to.
Right.
Hey, well, how you doing?
That's pretty
So yeah, I finally did get the autographs. From what I understand, so like the Next Generation cast was half of them were there. So a lot of people were like, you could run right through Jonathan Frakes' line and you were in and out in 5 minutes because there's no one waiting for Jonathan Frakes. You could do the same thing for everybody else except for the Sons of Anarchy crew. Charlie Hunnam, they said that a dealer showed up at the front of the Charlie Hunnam line, took 90 minutes to sign all the shit because he dropped 10 grand on autographs.
I was gonna say, because he probably spent the money, right?
Yeah. And that kind of shit pisses me off.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
you know what? I get it. But if you're going to drive that kind of coin, reach out and do a private signing and don't hold up everybody else who just wants their onesies and twosies.
And whose fault is that?
That's the organizers.
And Charlie Hunnam's, right? I mean, he's taking the money, right? So he's the one. He can do anything he wants to do. He can say, "I'm not signing any. I'll sign 5 of these, and then thank you very much. You get your money back and get out of Dodge."
Go back to the
that's
end
his
of the
fault
line.
too, right? So
Sure.
he's obviously doing it to make money, and there's plenty of celebrities who won't sign stuff on the street or more than 1 or 2 things on the street. There's plenty of them that will, right? And they'll do it for free often, if you're chasing them around and stuff like that. But yeah, at a convention like that, that's bullshit. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's a giant pile of bullshit, and I would be angry at Charlie Hunnam as much as I would be at the organizers. For that
Right,
crap.
right. And all. I don't think I got a single free comic creator autograph. I take that back. David Mack, 5 autographs on 5 pieces. He was free. Everybody else was a minimum $10 per autograph. And if you're getting it CGC graded, they were mostly $30 because, well, you're going to make money on my autograph. I want to make more money on I'm like, you're charging me $10 as it is. Now you're going to tell me, God damn it.
Yeah, I don't begrudge anybody wanting to charge that, because again, it's a commodity at this point, right? It's actually something that whether or not you intend on selling it now, it's creating value on that, and so it's worth more. And so I don't have a problem with any kind of creator making a tiny little slice of that, a $10 or $30 autograph on something that you might sell down the road for hundreds or thousands of dollars is fine. But yes, Joey.
So from what I'm hearing about all the Fan Expo talk, is that the first one was absolute hell.
I wouldn't say absolute hell. I mean, there were organizational issues to be sure. The comic creators were great. They were gracious. There just weren't enough of them, right? Usually I go to C2E2 and I will spend the first 2 days. I'm in line for this creator, then this creator, and boom, 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 because there's so many of them to see.
So
and
what
meet.
else was going on? Like, again, I'm not the comic guy. The only time I've ever been to one of those conventions, I walked through the comic thing and I'm like, I'm not interested in any of this. Like, it looks cool, and I knew a few of the guys, but I'm not a comic guy, so I didn't care. Like, it was all the other stuff that goes on. So what else goes on there?
So, I mean, they've got the cosplay. Spence was in Hog Heaven with their cosplays. They do meetups, like different fan groups will have meetups, or they'll have a cosplay meetup. Okay.
Carry on.
Anyway, you distray. I'm sorry. There are panels, like they had a Jeff Johns panel. They had a Kevin Smith Q&A. They had a Sons of Anarchy panel where you could talk with them. So there are other things going on, to be sure.
Sure.
You can do panels, you can do shopping, lots and lots of shopping.
There's lots of vendors, right? Yeah.
It actually felt kind of small, though.
Yeah.
Especially given that the majority of what I wanted were comics.
And it could still be because obviously we're still trying to get back into into going out and doing conventions, and there were some cancellations to COVID, obviously. Right. And now there's kind of, in the last week or so, there've been, at least around the country, I don't know here locally per se, but more talk about new strains of COVID and people kind of getting hinky about that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, my guess is that affected it to some degree.
Well, and
anyway.
Sean Astin
actually got COVID.
He got
at the show.
COVID
That's
at the
great.
show. Well, he might have
He
come
might have
in
had
with
it before, but
but Sunday they're like, yeah, Sean's tested positive for COVID.
oh man.
Well, so the one thing I will say is I did notice that Sean, he had a plexi shield around
Sure,
him.
yeah.
He was essentially in a booth with a slot this high to hand stuff to
yeah,
him.
yeah. But it didn't help.
It didn't help.
And wait, were they doing that with the other hobbits too?
No,
or
it was Sean was the only one that I noticed that on.
Weird.
All of the photo, you do
Well,
the
he's
photo
the old
ops.
man of the group, so
He is. You can pay for the pro photo ops.
yeah.
They all had a sheet of plexiglass between them.
Really.
So it's funny. People are like clawing at it like a box, or like Spock
Being funny, yeah.
Spock and Kirk put
Right.
up against the glass.
Right.
But it's like that just looks awkward.
Right.
It's
Kind
like
of funny.
this side of the glass could be. They could have just taken the Hobbit's picture,
Right.
snap one, and just stand here. We'll Photoshop it in.
Right.
How you doing, Get? The COVID got stuck in his tube.
I don't get it.
At some point, I'm going to give them a chance to rebuild this show.
Right. Yeah.
That's
That's kind of my point. Like,
Yeah.
And hey,
Who
at least
knows?
it went better than DashCon.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, Wizard really tanked this show hard. But even the comic guests that they brought in, then again, about 4 of the top tier comic guests that I would have been there to see canceled. Zeb
Right.
Wells canceled. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez canceled. Brian Michael Bendis canceled. There's one more whose autograph I was looking to get, and I'm like, God bless him. And every time I turn around, Nathan Fillion canceled, but from what I hear, he does that a lot.
Yeah, well, because he does everything, I think.
Right.
I mean, I think he does a lot of stuff.
Although one of the surprise add-ons.
Did he cancel? I thought he was there for one of those days.
No.
I could have swore I saw maybe somebody just posted a picture of him, but then he did cancel. Because I could have swore I thought somebody posted, but like I said, he goes to all these shows. So
Right.
Who knows where that picture was from?
The one add-on that happened in the last week that surprised me was Joel McHale.
Oh, yeah. I
From
saw
Community,
that too,
yeah.
That's kind of funny.
It's one of those things where I'm like, wow.
From a lot of stuff, actually. But,
ton of stuff,
Community,
yeah.
Yeah, he
I
even
know
played Johnny Cage in the recent Mortal Kombat and
Right.
movies.
It's funny.
So yeah, that was my experience. The one thing I'm going to say, I think that every convention needs to have, at least for their comic creators, for those people, those big celebs, they're okay. You're gonna charge us for that, but for the comic creators who sit in Artist Alley, I think one free autograph per person is not an unreasonable ask, because it adds up very, very, very quickly. I understand where you're coming
Because you
from.
have to pay to get in. It's not like it's a free event.
What
and now
is
you're
my
paying.
$95
Right, exactly.
badge buy me?
Right, exactly.
It should be able to buy me comic book creator autographs at a comic book show.
Right.
Even if it's only one.
Right.
I'd be okay if it was one. I'd prefer a 3 or a 5 minimum. But if you say one free autograph and then I'm charging you $35 for it, okay, fine. Because those artists get those tables for free. And I remember a day when you'd go to Chicago Comic-Con or you'd go to Wizard World and those people were there promoting it was a promotional stop, right? When Christopher Nolan came in and brought the Dark Knight cast in with him. Right. They did a surprise panel at Wizard World Chicago. No one knew it was going to happen. And I couldn't get in because I had a dealer's badge that year. God damn it. When Thomas Jane showed up promoting The Punisher, free autographs from Thomas Jane. It used to be a promotional thing, and that's what they do in San Diego. Disney, we're going to give you a booth and time, and you bring in your celebs and do your signings, and you don't pay for the Avengers autographs. But in the mid 2000s, Wizard caught on to, hey, we can charge money for these photo ops, and as long as we, the public, keep paying for them,
Right.
all I want is value for my badge.
And we will keep paying for them because in the end, it's all stuff we want.
Right. if you're gonna make me pay for everything, if I'm paying at every vendor, I'm paying ridiculous price for food, I'm paying for parking, I'm paying for comic autographs, I'm paying for celeb autographs. What the hell is my $95 buying?
Yeah,
me?
and that's totally legitimate. It's part of it is, the devil's advocate is that, well, it's because this stuff has all become so commoditized nowadays, and because the value, especially in the last 2.5 years, has just gone through the roof of
Right.
anything that's collectible whatsoever. Like I say, I don't begrudge the artist from trying to get a little taste of that. They've created this thing, and now there are, thousands and thousands of these things that are making people thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're getting literally none of it. So,
But-
yeah, but it's their art, right? So you're an artist. You should you
Sure.
get it, right? So,
And if I
they're
sell
selling
you-
other things because they're doing this, and a promotional thing and a movie thing is something else. But like I said, I just a little devil's advocacy there. Like I get
Yeah.
that they want a little taste of it because for you it's one free autograph. For the artist, it's 2,000 free autographs that they've just given out, right? If
Sure.
all 2,000 people come through, or 5,000
What that means,
people come
2,000
through,
people have. That means those are
I get it.
2,000 people
Yeah.
who have bought their art.
Sure, right.
I went and bought these comic
but how many
books.
times I've heard artists say they don't owe their public anything. They don't owe their public anything. That artist doesn't owe you a free autograph.
Nope, they
you,
don't.
You just because you purchased his art doesn't mean he owes you a
Nope,
damn
they
thing.
no,
And
they don't.
And I feel like I hear that all the time. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I hear that all the time.
It shows appreciation to those. That's the thing. It's,
Sure,
it's the
it does.
appreciation.
Of course it does. And of course there will be plenty of artists, having gone to Gen Con for
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 years, there are plenty of artists that will sign everything you got for free, and they'll give you whatever they can give you, and they charge you very reasonable prices for everything. Now, these guys aren't comic book artists that sell millions of comics or
Right.
thousands of comics or have been doing it for 20 years, but some of them are very, very, very talented artists who are very, very popular in their genre, and they'll do it for free. So
Yeah.
it just depends kind of on where you are, and I think it's a little things are changing, I think, generally speaking, but I totally understand and don't disagree with what you're saying.
And I don't disagree either.
as
But
far as the conversation
when we're
goes.
talking like Jeff Johns, who is a Hollywood producer at this
Right.
point, he makes millions of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
right? Although I was hearing stories about the guys from the Winchester brothers from Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only way you can get their autographs anymore is if you go to a Supernatural convention.
Mm.
And not only that, but you have to buy at least the $1,300 tier
Mm-hmm.
VIP ticket in order to get 2 autographs, one from each of them.
Right.
Right. And that's,
And that's a show that really, it's fine. It is a little, because it was on
It's
for
got-
so long,
and
it's
it's got
become
a-
kind of a weird generational cultural icon almost.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's why, because like literally a generation of people grew up with that show,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Look at people in their late teens and early 20s who watched that show for 13 years or whatever it was.
But
I mean, that's pretty cool, but that's why, right?
but they may, yeah, but
Even then, right?
I was gonna say, I feel like Jensen Ackles' autograph would be a bit easier to get, especially since
Nope.
he's been in more stuff. Like
Nope.
The Boys season 3, he played Soldier Boy. You'd
Yep.
think he would show up.
Nope.
more-
Yeah, and that's the thing. And the more money they make, the more money they have, the more their time is worth.
And the people that started watching that show when it first came out and they were loyal to it and they've loved it for a decade.
Right.
Now they're 10, 12, 13 years older, 15 years older from when that show first started. And now they've got the money and the jobs, and
Disposable
the
income,
last
and-
2 years, everything's gone crazy, and they want to collect it and they want to be a part of it and they want to remember it. And it's already nostalgia for them, right? Even
Right.
though that show's not that old.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a hard time saying, "Hi, I'm a fan of this millionaire. Let me give you my
Here's my $10.
here's my yeah." Right.
Or $1,300, as the case may be.
Right.
Yeah,
It's-
Yes.
yeah,
yeah.
it seems ridiculous.
7 years ago, they would have traded their autographs for a hot dog.
Right. I mean, that's no joke. It's crazy how it's
Yeah.
gone. In the last few years, you add up a few different things and suddenly things go
Times
through the
have
roof.
And the thing
changed.
is, as long as we are willing to pay it,
Right.
the moment we say, "I'm not doing this anymore,"
Right.
But the thing is, I can say I'm not doing this anymore,
Yeah.
but then that nerd next to me and that geek next to them,
Right.
they're going to be like, well, I've got $600.
Right. Right.
I mean, literally, the guys in the VIP, they're like, I paid $300 for a VIP ticket so I could bypass the lines, and I haven't been able to bypass a single line yet.
Right. Yeah. Right. So what? Right. Huh? What's the point?
Right.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking about the Hobbits. I've had the 4 Hobbits on my radar this year just because I know they've been traveling around together
Right.
to do their group photos and their group autographs, whatever the case may be. And I looked at it and we talked about it quite a bit. And I'm like, I just can't. As much as I think what I came to was, as much as I love the movies, obviously, we'll declare it my favorite movie of all time, the first
Right.
Hobbit movie, because
You got
because
the
I'm a
tattoo.
huge Lord of the Rings fan. My first and only tattoo is a Lord of the Rings tattoo. Where I finally came down, and it was like $400, like all in, right? Around $400.
Right.
So it's not like it's outrageous for a kind of what would be for me a once in a lifetime opportunity. A thing, people are like, well, if you don't do it in 2 weeks or 2 months, are you going to be really sad that you didn't do it because you'll never be able to do it again? And I thought about that, and I'm like, the money isn't really that big a deal. It's the hassle. It's the only reason I would go to this show. I have zero reason to go to that show other than that specific thing.
Right.
And even if it went swimmingly, it's still a hassle to mess with. But in the grand scheme of things, it would be worth the hassle. But I finally came down to, you know what? I'm much more a fan of the material than I am of the human beings who portrayed those characters. As much as I love those guys and those actors, and I listened to Dom and what's his face's podcast, The Friendship Onion, which they were doing a live recording there, I'm sure, at some point. And they probably had a panel where they were talking about stuff too. And, as funny as that stuff is, and I love the story, and I've watched the movies a million times and seen all the backstories and seen them in the theaters 20 years later and 30 years. I've done all the stuff. Like, I love all the movies. I'm like, I really don't care that much. Like, I just decided I didn't care that much about the actual human beings. It'd be cool to meet them. It'd be cool to say hi. But, whatever, for $400 and the hassle and everything else, I'm like, I'm a Tolkien fan. I'm not a, Sean Astin fan.
Right.
Yeah.
I am a Sean Astin fan, but I'm a Tolkien fan first. And so that's why I'm like, it's fine. I don't really care. I got to meet Brad Dourif years ago at Gen Con, and I got his autograph for free on an oversized Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, the Cypher game, when the Cypher game came out. I had an oversized card, picture of him as Wormtongue, and I have his autograph on that. And for me, that's fine. Like, and we just got it because we were there, and Brad Dourif is awesome. So
Pretty cool.
yeah. But so I'm like, I decided not
Wasn't
to
he
mess
also
with
Chucky?
He was the voice of Chucky, and he was in Exorcist 3. Well, he means a million things, right?
Yeah.
Dune, and what's that Western show that was on for so long? And yeah. But yes, he was Chucky. He was the voice of Chucky.
If you ever watched Entourage, did you ever
Yeah,
watch the show? One of my favorite lines is like, it could be worse. It could be Brad Dourif. Hey, asshole, that's my fucking client.
Oh,
That show had its moments.
It did. It really did.
But that's why. And then you called and even offered. I could have gone for free,
Right.
theoretically, and I still said nah. Even Hobbit or no, it's like for free. There was no value in it for me.
Sure.
Like I just don't care. I went to that show back when it was called
Dallas. Was he in Dallas?
Comic-Con. Was it Comic-Con or C2E2? I don't know. Like the first year, maybe it was C2E2 at that same space. I went with a friend.
In
maybe
Rosemont?
Maybe we went downtown. I don't remember.
If it was downtown, it would have been C2E2.
Like many years ago, I went with a friend of mine and his son, and it was fine. But I was there for an hour and a half, and I'm like, I'm pretty much done here.
Yeah, I
There's
get
not
that.
really anything for me to see.
No. I mean, Gen Con is going to be more your jam. I think
Right.
you'd enjoy more like the hard fantasy sci-fi, the literature conventions,
Right.
or the gaming conventions more than you would enjoy that. I get that.
It's interesting,
and I'm good with that.
Yeah. It's like going to the Ren Fair. It was fun once, but I don't need to go back.
Right.
It's like a lot of people are like, the Ren Fair was fun once, but I don't need to go back.
One of the reasons C2E2 ingratiated itself in my heart is because it's about the comics. They bring Marvel and DC and Image and Dark Horse and First Comics. They bring the comic producers. They bring the comic creators. They bring a lot of comic creators. There's some like that. It's like, meet Rob Liefeld. I couldn't care less about Rob Liefeld.
That's funny.
Creator of Deadpool, no, ripper off of Deathstroke. Let's be honest about who he is. But that's okay. You enjoy him, you go
Sure.
see him, and you go over there. I'm going to go over here, and there are just so many artists. They go. You have probably 16. You get 26 rows with 16 artists each. You've got hundreds of artists lining up back there. Some of them well known, some of them not so well known. But I've always got time to spend in Artist Alley talking with creators and whatnot, and a lot of them. I kept going back around to Mark Silvestri's table to see what he was working on because I was bored.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's like, hi, Mark, again.
Again.
Here, let me tell you about.
Remember me?
Remember me from 1988? You were at my
Well, see, you
first
have to
Comic
remember,
Con.
he's stuck. He can't go anywhere.
I
so
know.
Don't goon him out too bad.
And what was funny was some of the creators, like Howard Mackey. All right, so this guy was a hell of a lot of fun. Okay. Blades 81 was saying she went to the Dark Horse Comics Museum in LA yesterday.
Nice.
So that's really cool. Howard Mackey, who in the 80s or in the 90s, he wrote for Ghost Rider and Spider-Man and a couple of other things. He, big name in the 90s. And the man talked to us for like 45 minutes because there was no one else in his
Right,
line,
exactly
and he was
right,
bored
yeah.
too.
Right.
And that's when he told me, he's like, on my first comic was, he's like, I gave Jim Lee no. Who was it? He gave Todd McFarlane his first job at Marvel. And he said, when I first got on the editorial stuff, my job was to go through the submissions editor. So I'd go through all the submissions, and, some people would get a form letter that says, yeah, thanks. And some would get a real letter that said, hey, if you're interested, if you really want to do this, this is what you need to work on. He goes, and Jim Lee always reminds me that I sent him a letter that rejected his work 2 weeks after we hired him because they were that far back on submissions. But he stood there talking. He was bored because there was
Right,
no
yeah.
one there.
Right.
Todd McFarlane, that's the dude who created Spawn, if I'm not
Correct.
Right.
Nice.
That's correct. So yeah, it was interesting. I will give it a chance, but they are going to need to expand their comics programming,
Right.
if they want to keep me, because that was the problem that I had with Wizard. Sure, it's cool when they've got good celebrity guests. I go to comic cons for comic books.
Right. Yeah.
I want to meet, and I will say though,
Although it's not called Comic Con anymore, it's called Fan Expo.
yes, that's correct.
Which I think is on purpose, right? I mean,
Well, Fan Expo, but the celebrating 50 years of Chicago Comic Con.
right. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yep.
You want-
Subtitle.
right, exactly. C2E2 is the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo.
Right. Right. Right.
It's
But
not
they-
lying about what it's offering.
Right.
Right.
But I like comic shows that have a focus on the comic books.
Right.
Not shows that are trying to be weak competitors with San Diego Comic Con.
And you'd think in Chicagoland, I mean, I don't know how many of them they have. I know they're all over the place now, but Chicago's a hub, right? Chicago, Indianapolis. I think
Yeah.
those would be two big hubs.
Well, go back to the 80s through the 90s, and the show, the comic shows went San Diego, Chicago, the rest of them, right?
Right.
Chicago was always the number 2 show because it was at the right, it was at the right time to not compete with San Diego and yada, yada, yada. But over the years, it's kind of, as Wizard shat the bed and Reed starts coming up, it's kind of shifted a little bit. I will say that, though, that I did get some fantastic comic book deals. I spent a little bit more on comic books than I thought I would, but I found some really, really sweet key issues, and I found a dealer that had runs of Batman and Daredevil in their 50-cent bin, so I kind of spent
Nice.
almost $100, or I spent almost $50 just on 50-cent comics.
Yeah.
Damn. So that's like 100 comics.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's for,
Jesus.
man. I mean, that's kind of the point of going to those kinds of places.
Right.
Back in the day when I was collecting comics, we used to love to go to leisure hours when they would have their yearly sidewalk sale.
Yeah.
And put all of their books outside literally on the sidewalk. They moved everything outside on a beautiful day in the summer. We go out there and just dig through stuff. And I never collected anything really specific, but the weirder, more bizarre comic that I could find, if
Yeah.
it was anywhere related to my genre of fantasy or anything, whether it was Conan or D&D or old Disney Dragon Slayer, and goofy, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Michael Moorcock's. I mean, and this was back in the early mid 90s, right? That was more fun for me than it was trying to collect the new thing that was coming out. I mean, I didn't really collect any new book at that point. It was just I had more fun digging through old stuff, and like you'd said, oh, look at this. Here's 50 cents. Here's the entire run or most of this or
Right.
whatever, for 50 cents a pop. That's more fun to me than anything else.
I did find I found a couple of steals. I found there was a dealer who had a couple X-Men issues from the early 80s that they had them in the $10 bin. And they're $40 books each.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, this is the first Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers Captain Marvel. She transformed into a character they called Binary for a couple of years. This is the first Binary, and if they do that in the movies, this is going to shoot through the roof. But even as it is, these are $40 comics that you're selling for $10 a piece. So I found a couple of those. I found a couple of really good deals. I had fun shopping, but I did more diving through comic bins than I've done in years,
Right.
because there's nothing else for me to do.
Yeah, right. That too.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was a little disappointing.
2 minutes.
Take your
30
two.
seconds.
Well, I tell you what, let's do this. We can take a momentary break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about The Boys.
Hell yeah, that's what I've been waiting for this whole time.
All right, we're back. The package has not shown up yet. I will let you know as soon as it does.
What package?
He sent me a mystery gift. I don't know.
All right.
That's our moderator for you.
We'll find out.
I
Yes, we
suppose
will.
we shall find out.
All right, so enough about Comic Cons. Let's talk about comic book shows.
The Boys.
So I just did a full rewatch of all 3 seasons with Joey to get him.
Yeah, and for me, it was my first watch
Oh,
through,
you
so
didn't
that was a lot.
He hadn't watched any of it.
Well, actually, no. I had watched the first 3 episodes before, but that was it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's been funny to watch him because he's like, when I tried to show it to him the first time, he's like, okay, it's got. And then this time around, he's like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Yeah, like at the beginning of season 2 when Homelander just Helen Kellered that blind kid, oh my god,
Yeah, the Daredevil guy.
blind spot.
Oh, get your one show behind. We'll try not to talk too much about the end of it then,
Yeah,
or we'll tell you when you should turn off
each
or
season,
mute us.
each season begins with an absolutely fucked up thing in the first episode.
And
It has to start with a bang, right? Every,
Right.
show every
Season-
season has to start with a bang.
Season 1, it was A-Train running through Robin. Season 2, it was the Helen Kellering. Season 3,
Do me a favor. Never say that again. Moving forward. Carry on.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Season 3.
He deafened the blind guy, so I mean,
Yes,
it's not
that's fine.
inaccurate.
Just don't ever say it
accurate.
again.
And season 3 was the termite scene.
And that was so disturbing.
I don't even remember.
The guy
the
shrunk
shrinks.
down really low to
When's it-
pleasure his
Oh,
boyfriend.
that was season 3.
yeah,
When
That was the first episode. Oh, there's only been 3 episodes or 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
Okay,
right.
yeah, I was thinking there were 4. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, of course, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, that
Which wasn't as gross as I thought it was going to be because I heard somebody just not describe it, but say, "Oh, it was so gross." And then I watched it. And I'm like, "Well, that was disturbing, but it wasn't really any grosser than everybody else exploding." I mean, everybody on that show explodes. And I got my wife to watch the first 2 seasons with me.
Yeah.
And then we watched the first maybe 2 episodes of season 3. And she's like,
I'm done.
and then she kept, and I kept waiting. I'm like, well, let's watch the next episode. She's like, I'm not in the mood for that. And then we kept, not in the mood. Finally, I'm like, you don't want to watch it anymore, do you? She's like, you can just go ahead. And so she let me, but she watched the full 2 first seasons.
I wouldn't even think
was,
it should.
which I thought was a great way. It's a great commentary on it. It is a good show.
It is.
It just goes too far with a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
Which is part of the point, right?
Right.
Obviously,
Though,
but-
from what I understand, the comics go even farther. Like,
yeah,
so
because it's a comic. Right?
Yeah.
minor spoiler alert for the end of the season, but so this is actually a story from recently. So I was
Minor or actual spoiler for end of season.
actual spoiler.
All right,
So I thought we said we were going to wait for that.
let's build up to
Yeah,
the final episode.
let's not spoil the end of the
It
whole
wasn't
thing right away.
revealed in the final episode. It was the episode 7 reveal, but even then, it's still rather late game, so people might not have gotten to it
Well,
yet.
Git says he's 1 episode behind. So.
Okay, so we're good to talk about that.
All right, go ahead.
So, while I was at work, I was telling my one of my coworkers about The Boys because it's a good show. And sorry, I wanted them to check it out.
Chokes you up.
I wanted them to check it out, and then a customer on the self checkout, because I was like on the lane right next to it, heard me and he was like, "Hey, are you talking about The Boys?" And I was like, "Yeah, that last episode was pretty crazy, right?" "I know." And then he's like, "Man, but the comics were crazier." And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And then he actually walks over because he didn't want the other customers to hear it, and he said, apparently after Homelander finds out that Soldier Boy is his father, the two end up
Yeah.
yeah.
The comics are even more disturbing than the show, if you can believe that. The character of Black Noir has changed radically.
Well, Soldier Boy too.
Right.
Yeah.
Soldier Boy is the amount in the comics. There were actually 2 different Soldier Boys, and the one in the show is kind of an amalgam of both. And even still different than the one than what you saw in the comics. And things like, well, no, I'm not going to talk about that part of it just yet.
Yeah, fair.
So let's talk about the build up to this. What I am going to find so amusing is the people who aren't going to get the fact that a good chunk of this is an anti-Trump screed.
Well, right.
Yeah.
That's one of my few criticisms of it. Not because it is so political, but because it is so political.
Right.
So obviously political, and I get it. And a friend of mine was saying, "Oh, so and so is Trump, or so and so is whatever." I said, "Well, yes. I mean, you could pick a couple of them. Really, I really kind of felt the Blue Beetle, or what was his name?
Which guy?
The guy that A-Train took to the thing.
Oh,
whatever
Blue Hawk.
Blue Hawk, whatever his name was. I mean, he was obviously supposed to represent that whole
Crowd.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
and that's fine. You could say, "Oh, Homelander is this guy," or whatever. That's fine. But I really feel like they put it all on him, and he was the one, and they did a good job of that. A little heavy-handed, but I think that was, to me, that was more the point, and I liked how they. I didn't mind that they did it, but it was just a little heavy-handed. Right?
Little-
Yeah,
sure.
I don't
Plus it
mind
gave-
commentary. Like, it's fine. I mean, that's what science fiction and comic book movies, and it's all just a reflection on society, right? That's
Right.
kind of what it's supposed to be. But man, holy cow, was it heavy-handed?
Plus,
Well-
plus, I love how it kind of gave A-Train a bit of an arc, and he realizes, oh, this is actually kind of this whole thing we're doing is kind of fucked up, and he even actually gives an apology to Huey when
You're out of F-bombs for the episode, Joe.
Both of you are.
Sorry, I didn't even realize I dropped one.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that later. Both of you are. So that's a good point, and that was he had to have this extreme thing happen for him to kind of figure out what's going on, and that was kind of the point too, right?
Right. And Ashley's reaction to him was perfect, where she's like, "Are you kidding me? You didn't care when you blew up Robin, and you didn't care. You didn't care about all the
Pop Claw.
when you all this chaos and havoc that you created,
Right.
But when it happens to you, all of a sudden
Suddenly,
it's
now
an
it's a
issue,
problem, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And let's give a shout out to her for probably being the character that grew the most from season 1 to the end of season 3. I mean, it's like, holy cow, and you always knew that it was kind of in there. That was kind of the point, but she was just enamored and half enamored of being in, wanting to be in power, and half kind of being pushed and pulled into being in power when she finally got it.
And she became
what's going to happen here,
Yeah.
and then that was a great scene.
But even then, she's still stuck under Homelander's thumb.
well, and
for
that
sure,
because she
yeah.
was terrified of him.
Right.
That was the thing,
Right.
And, like,
Yep.
justifiably so. That man's a psychopath.
Well, of course.
I mean, that's kind of the point. When she finally got everything she thought she wanted, she still ended up being somebody else's puppet. I love, God, because the whole Vought machine throughout that show is just it's so typical of corporate America in general.
Yeah.
It's how can we spin this? How can we
Right. I mean,
Excuse me.
it's one big, metaphor for society and government and corruption and spin and everything. Not and it's always political, right? But it doesn't. And the whole corporate thing, and corporations don't have politics, right? They have money, they have shareholders. That's what they're all about. And so that's why I don't mind when a show is political, in that it shows the hypocrisy and the corruption in the system as a whole, right? When it starts to go one direction or the other, I get it. It's reflecting society as it is.
Yeah.
It just got a little heavy-handed for me, but I did like it. I mean, I'm not going to tell you my political beliefs, but y'all probably all know my political beliefs. But anyway, the point is, I really liked it, and I thought it did a good job. I thought it just went a little too far in 3. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously been the entire point of it. So
From
you
the
can't
beginning,
fault
right.
it for doing that, because
Right.
that's what it's always been.
Yeah.
For sure. And I like that it shows the whole problem with the corporate spin. Everything is spin. Like everything.
everything is spin?
And if something goes wrong, they can always just find another way to fix it. Throw a cog in the gigantic clockwork. Other gears are
You
just
throw a wrench. You don't throw a cock.
okay, yeah. Throw a wrench.
I'm just helping you with your metaphor. That's all.
You
Throwing a wrench.
throw the monkey into the wrench.
Throw a wrench.
Oh, how the turntables.
Throw a wrench in the clockwork, and other cogs will just pick up the.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
That's right. No, yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly correct.
Right.
Well, misdirection, right? It's kind of what you're saying there, right?
Yeah.
So, look over here, or you just blame whoever it is that brings it up. That's who you blame, and that's the bottom line.
Right.
I mean, that's the way it works.
Not
these days.
quite what I meant, but sure.
I mean, the whole the whole board scene after they get rid of Stan Edgar's,
Right.
They install Ashley, who then turns it all over to Homeland, and even that, it's like did she make him chairman of? Why?
Right.
No, he just she's gonna do whatever Homelander says
Yeah.
because Homelander told her she's gonna do what he says.
Because he can just destroy everybody with his eyeballs. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
who's going to argue with him? I mean, it becomes that power of the Homelander's sheer superhero power becomes a metaphor for corporate power and the danger in a single godlike, literal godlike entity, human being, whether it's because they're charismatic or because they do wield a certain amount of power, and in his case, literal life and death power.
Right.
Whereas you could say, plenty of charismatic leaders, cult of personality types throughout the years have wielded that power, even though they don't shoot lasers out of their eyeballs. They
Yeah.
still certainly had the power of life and death, and that's been, that's the story of human civilization, right?
Right.
So that's what he represents, but he does it in a very physical way.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I loved, it's like, hey, I'm in charge now. And the moment he gets in charge, she goes, so how do you want to handle this? He's like, are you saying you're smarter than me? I was just like,
Yes. Again, so good.
it-
So good.
I mean,
and so damning and so cringy
Yeah.
at the same time.
yeah, I mean, it's such a brilliant metaphor. It's like the people who in 2016 are like, I don't want any politics with my music, Rage Against the Machine. Just stick to singing. I'm like,
Yeah, it speaks to the cult of the stupid, right? So,
You missed
so,
the
so
points, my guy.
it's exactly speaking to that specifically, to the cult of the stupid, right? Thinking,
Yeah.
if someone is an expert, the demonization of the expert, right? Of
Right.
expertise in general, right? So, people that are experts for a reason, and if somebody says, "Oh, I know this because I'm an expert," and then the implication is, "What do you think? I'm dumb?" Like, no, I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying I'm an expert.
Right.
Because I've been doing this for this and this and this, and I have these credentials. Yeah, but I'm not stupid. I'm smart too. Like, okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? I feel that way when I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me, "Oh, I don't see anything wrong with your knee," and I say, "But doctor, my knee still hurts." And he's like, "Well, I'm an expert, and so you have to trust me." And I say, I do trust you, except that my knee still hurts." And he's like, we butt heads a little bit. It's like I'm telling him that I believe what you're saying, and I know you're an expert, but I feel this way, and so there's a little bit of that, and so I have to then say, okay, you're the expert. I respect your authority. I respect your expertise, and sometimes it's not easy to do. Is my point. It can be difficult to do it in certain circumstances. Say, okay, I get what you're telling me. It hurts for other reasons, not the reasons that I think it does, or whatever the case may be. He's the expert. He knows. He has the experience. He knows what's going on. So you have to trust those people in some in organizations and everything else. But that doesn't mean it makes it easy, and it can be very difficult to swallow, which is why some people just refuse to.
right. Let's see. So growing through the episodes, Herogasm, that fight in that house.
Was that the what
Season
episode
3,
was
episode
that?
6.
I knew Joey would know.
Right.
It's a short series, and the episodes are easier to capture.
So that's
That for me, they're not. But
yeah.
that's okay.
It's the superhero.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Where and it's you've got what was going on, what was going on. But you've got that whole, Mother's Milk and Starlight going in to try and get everybody out because Soldier Boy's on his way.
Yeah.
And he's going to murder everyone.
Well, no, he's only going to murder the twin.
Well,
But
except
everyone
that when
else
he
is gonna
murders
be
the twins, he
collateral.
explodes
He
and kills everybody.
He
right?
murders everybody.
That's kind of his
I
thing.
kind of dug the whole, the light taking away, burning the V out of their system. Now, that's something that's different from the comics that didn't exist in the comics.
And also,
yeah.
I do kind of like how they kind of gave Soldier Boy laser. Like, I imagine it's like something that was awakened in him by the Russians. Because, after all, Homelander is his son. He had to get it from somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not surprising that in the show they gave him that power, right?
Yeah.
Genetic manipulation, it's a Homelander can fly and Soldier Boy can't. So
Right.
Yeah.
there's that. But that fight, first of all, Billy Butcher dropping the C word every other sentence.
Well, that's a cultural thing.
It is. It is.
Well, if it ain't the invisible, I'm not even going to say it on screen.
It's not an American thing. That's
No, that is definitely a British
cultural
thing.
British thing, right? And Australian, right? They do it.
Yes.
Too, right?
Yeah.
Ever listen to Jim Jeffries comedy?
Yeah. But that whole fight, when you get Huey and Billy and Soldier Boy all pinning down Homelander,
Right.
I was really hoping.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. You're rooting for, because everybody knows what a psychopathic, jerk Homelander is at this point. Like,
Homelander-
he's truly the baddest of bad guys.
But
He
I will
deserves it.
But I will say that Anthony Starr absolutely deserves an Emmy for his work this season.
Right.
That whole inner monologue with himself in the mirror.
Right.
It's like, come on, say it. You're better than they are.
And I love that scene because you get the distinct feeling that he's had that conversation many, many times. Like
Right.
that's been his imaginary friend his entire life. Is that exact thing?
I think it's kind of safe to compare Homelander to like Joffrey or Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, because they are all characters you absolutely love to hate because of how well written they are.
Oh, absolutely.
and how powerful
Absolutely.
they are.
I hope Anthony Starr is not getting the hate mail.
Or gonna get typecast,
Right. Or because he is so the facial expressions and the way he can go from the smile to the glower and back again. It's
Like-
oh, Starlight, we're not supposed to we're not supposed to be recording when we're running lines.
Right, yeah, the super
I love the scene in the second episode of season 3 when Homelander is supposed to be convincing the kid not to jump, and then he sees that Stormfront killed herself, and he's just like, "Oh, the world is messed up, ain't it?" And then the girl is just like, "I don't think I want to jump anymore." And he's
No,
like, "No,
have
you
some
should."
follow through.
right.
And then it's like, I
Great
just
scene.
don't want to anymore, and it's no longer a request. Jump. Like that dude goes from just like lamenting about the world to crap your pants terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. And that, again, because everybody knows he can, right? He's the one who can literally murder anybody.
Yeah.
I did like, at least in that the fight scenes where they're beating the crap out of each other, and it reminded me a little bit of the Invincible show, that he did actually get beat up, right? So often when you watch like Superman, Superman you can shoot him in the eyeball with a bullet and it doesn't affect him at all, and you can beat him and beat him and beat him and beat him, and he shows absolutely no physical characteristics of having been beaten at all. At least when you've got those superheroes fighting each other, like he would get a little bloody or he would get beat up, like in Invincible, like he's more powerful even than like
Right.
Superman was,
Yeah.
but still he would get beat really badly and was bleeding and as that kind of stuff. So at least they gave a little bit of that to it. Like
Yes.
I was starting to get a little like, all right, Jesus, this guy is so completely invulnerable to harm. Like what's anybody going to even do to him? So at least when they got into a fight, he showed that he could get beat, and then he had that scene with Maeve where he said, she said, I've done everything I need to do because I've seen you scared. That's the bottom line.
That actually
That was a
reminds me
great
of something. Recently, this YouTube series Death Battle did one for Homelander versus Omni-Man, and Homelander got absolutely
Yeah, Omni-Man would crush him in 8 seconds.
Yeah.
and like
Omni-Man is way more powerful than anybody else I've ever
the
seen in
only
comics.
way
That doesn't have magic power, right?
Right.
the only way Homelander was able to hurt Omni-Man was with like the super loud voice because the Viltrumites have the sensitive hearing, but like that was it. Like
Yeah. Those are always fun.
yeah.
That was
And that whole thing with Maeve, I don't remember
incredibly
what
well said.
episode that was.
What's up?
Maeve, when he
Episode
talked to
7.
Maeve, was that 7? And how many were there? 8?
8.
8,
Okay.
yeah.
But that was all the stuff with Maeve. Like you just the
I
more
really
the
dug
more she was in the show, the more you like her
Yeah.
character, as far as I was concerned. And
There,
It's
yeah,
just
the,
like, oh, okay, so she's like Wonder Woman, cool, and
Well, of
then
course,
like
right, yeah.
she ended up becoming more of her own thing as we
Right.
learn more about
well,
her.
what
It
was
like,
what
really
was
cool.
funny watching the series from the beginning with Joe, was the character of the Deep, because Joey kept trying to say, "Well, he's really not that bad a guy." I'm like, no, he really kind of is, because
And yet
not
for
only is he's a sycophantic douche,
right.
and and Joey's like, but he's not that bad. And then you get to the octopus scene, and Joey's just like, all right, I'm done.
He
And then
represents so many different things.
Yes.
Like that. Honestly, I think a lot of that was just because the internet was also like
Blowing it
weirdly
up.
on
Because-
his side.
because you're the meme king, so you know all about
No,
the memes.
it wasn't even the meme. There weren't any memes about it.
Oh, okay.
I was just reading comments on some of the boys stuff,
Sure.
and everyone was like, "The Deep deserve better." And
Well,
No, the
and
Deep doesn't
he
deserve
doesn't
better.
deserve better. And-
granted, he was kind of stuck in crap situations, like especially with that whole Church of the Collective thing. Getting
yes.
like
and-
even when he thought he was free of them, he wasn't because his wife was still pulling the strings.
Well,
I'm
but
pulling a Joey with that comment right there. Yes, and you say your comment.
I was going to say, but the church was, once the, Goran Vincic, whatever the church
Right,
leader's
right.
name, once his head popped, the church was done.
Right.
That was just his wife manipulating him.
Right.
So he'd get power so she could have, she could be the woman behind the man. It wasn't about the church at that point, and it's,
Okay, it might not have been about the church, but even then, he still wasn't. He still wasn't really doing what he wanted.
well, no, but what he wanted, he doesn't know what he wants other than to be popular and powerful.
And
Preservation of sea life.
Okay,
what is sea life?
preservation.
Oh, preservation.
Yeah, like he genuinely cares about underwater creatures.
I'm a little bit too much.
There you go. And so my take on the whole thing is that Yes, he was put in bad situations. Yes, he was taken advantage of. Yes, he's not smart, right? So he represents that section of humanity that just isn't smart, right? He's easy to take advantage of because he's not real bright, right? And so it is unfortunate in that because those people are easy to take advantage of, and everybody who he associated with completely and utterly took advantage of him because he has power and he has some status and he's a good-looking guy and he's charismatic when he wants to be or when he can be, but he was just taken advantage of by every single person. The final thing with him, though, especially at the end, was he didn't learn a lesson.
Right.
He never turned that corner. He never said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I wish I hadn't done this.
That's
I
fair.
wish I hadn't done
Yeah,
that."
at least A-Train came to that realization. The Deep never comes to that.
Right.
It's
Stupid people can learn a lesson, right? You don't, but that was kind of his role, I think, in this whole thing, or is his role. He represents that portion of society that just is very easy to take advantage of and is very difficult to learn any kind of a lesson.
and I think that's part of the reason why, in the beginning he takes advantage. He rapes Starlight, because he finally felt he was in a position over somebody where he could be the one taking advantage of it. And the moment she stood up to him, right, the moment she said, "I'm not taking your shit anymore," the only thing he could do then is suck up to Homelander by season 3 to get back in, because nobody else in this world, he knew that Homelander, if he proved himself to be enough of a sycophant and enough of a kiss ass and show, "Hey, I'll do whatever you tell me." Okay, then eat your friend the octopus.
Right, yeah.
In
That was
what
messed
was
up.
as bad as the scene was, in Herogasm with him and the octopus, that was even more uncomfortable. Sitting there watching him, and the tentacles, and I know it's all CGI, I know, but you sit there and you're like, he's got a family. No, I can't. He's my friend. Why?
And also the fact that his wife wasn't helping him out. He was just
And
like,
she's just
eat
like-
the effing fish.
Right. It was uncomfortable, but again, he put himself in this situation. What's wrong with being the hero of Toledo, which is where they stuck him in season 2?
Right.
He could have gone there. He could have done good. No.
The landlocked city of Toledo.
Yeah, he was really screwed there. If,
Which is
He
pretty funny.
really was.
if he was stuck in like Salt Lake City or something, at least he could do something because there's a freaking lake.
Would you like a fresca?
Yeah, he was a funny character. I liked it, but there was a lot of reasons not to like that character as well. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and that's a lot of the boys is that's what it's about, right? And in the last season, you get Butcher's origin story, right?
Yeah, right.
And so you understand why good guy, bad guy. You can argue that all these, he's kind of an anti-hero, right? So good guy, bad guy, but now you kind of see where he's coming from. So now you understand some of the trauma that he went through.
Right.
And so, you get it and how he's...
Let's talk about Butcher's story a little
he
bit.
and why he's taken Huey under his wing and
So, and
the trauma that he's had to live through his entire life since then. And
we get really 3 origin stories in there, because you get Frenchie's connection to the Russian mob, right? And everything that they had to go through there.
We got
You got Butcher's backstory.
and we got Marvin with his grandparents getting killed by Soldier Boy.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. And I think the most heartbreaking of them all was Black Noir. Now, Black Noir's story is completely fabricated for the show. It is because in the comics, he is a clone of Homelander.
What?
And in fact, and I'm gonna blow this because it's comics
that have been out for a while,
right?
So yeah.
In the comics, Black Noir kills Homelander.
Because he's like the backup plan, right?
He's
Isn't
the
that
backup
whole
plan.
point?
That's the whole point of him.
But
And he killed. So obviously that's not happening,
Right.
yeah,
Because
obviously not.
but the story that they wrote for Noir, between him losing half his brain to Soldier Boy, hence him becoming mute. And I was curious about that when we first saw in those opening episodes, because you see, hey, I'm walking around talking, and everything starts going off, and then you just see, from that little whatever happened, and then when what's the major's name? The female who from the CIA.
Looking it up.
Yeah,
I
the
don't-
crowbar.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And she comes around and half his head's missing, and it's like, wow, how the hell did that happen? Because that didn't seem right. And then you go back and see it in the cartoon. I don't think there was anyone more tragic than that,
Yeah,
especially because of what Homelander did to him in the final episode, right?
Yeah.
Without going too deep into it, because Noir, he almost felt like, well, no, there were moments when you thought he was a hero and moments where you thought, damn, that's some messed up.
But he always felt like a tool, right? He
Yeah.
was simply a tool to be used by Vaughn. That's all he ever was, right?
Yeah.
He just never knew really what he was all about or why or
Why.
what the heck was going on or
Yeah.
how he was able to be used the way he was. And then you find out why.
And, and the scene that always kills me is in the second season after they create this, the super Arab terrorist, and he blows up, and they send Noir after him. And as he's walking out, he picks up the kid's bunny. He's like, "Oh, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo. Here, let me play with it while I hold your dad's head in my other hand."
Also, I found the name of the agent, Grace Mallory.
Grace Mallory, thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That explains that a little bit too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
my feed froze.
Oh, look at
Yeah,
that.
but
Joey's
it froze in a good spot, so you
Oh,
don't look
that's what I
bad.
want. Where
You could look bad.
I mean, yeah, but even then, it's still bad to be frozen.
Is it?
Yes.
That's the
Everything's
one.
fine.
Let's go ahead and select that one, and we'll deactivate and reactivate you. And there you go. Say hello.
Hey! All right. But
This show, this show is really, really good. It's really, really good. You got to have a solid stomach for this.
Yeah.
I'm going to say we're going to talk about the final episode now, so you might want to mute us for a
Check
few
out for the
minutes.
last
get out of here!
10 minutes and,
then,
we'll
yeah,
wrap
give
it up and then we'll be done.
And then we'll be done.
So.
So final episode spoiler in 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. So the whole
Oh, where does
I
it
would-
start?
Right? There was so much.
I know.
Dear God.
Holy
It was crazy.
crap.
I mean, first and foremost, were you satisfied? Did you like where it ended?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I thought they did a couple of the characters really, really good.
Yeah, I especially love how we actually got to see, like, Starlight at the maximum of her power.
right.
Finally, even though they had to kind of pump her up, I thought that was pretty well done. Too.
Yeah.
Like, and she could straight up fly. That was
Right.
so cool.
Right.
Which is, and it was pointed out in an article that I read earlier today. In the comics, she does fly. And in
Yeah.
fact, she revealed when
It
she
seems like
reveals
she should
herself.
be a character who should, right?
And in the comics,
especially the
most
cape.
of the characters do.
Yeah.
Maeve can fly as well.
And I can kind of respect them, like,
No, no.
like taking away some of the powers and stuff. Because, like, otherwise,
If everybody
Like-
does everything, then it's harder to
if
get
everyone's
differentiate.
super,
right. Nobody's
one
special.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing that caught me so off guard, pleasantly slow, was when the confrontation between Soldier Boy and Homelander, because they come together. He's like, he says that there. What father wouldn't give up everything to put his son in the spotlight?
Yeah.
And he's talking to him, and then tells him what a freaking disappointment you are.
and
And,
then
and then I'm
And that
sitting
was
there, I'm
because
like,
you had his story, which was the same thing, right?
right. And I
So he
was,
just became his own father, and
and my jaw, I'm like,
that
okay.
was pretty cool. That was pretty well done, I thought.
yeah,
So, yeah, the whole thing about the family, and then the son and freaking the son, Ryan, thank you, turning at the end.
Yeah, we'll see
Like,
how that goes. Like, is
if
this?
I see that kid in a mini Homelander costume in the next season,
I was just
I
gonna say,
will-
what's your prediction? You think you're gonna see him as a mini Homelander? He's gonna be
Yes.
literally flying around. Now it'll be interesting to see what they do with the actor, because I don't know how quickly they're filming it. Everything is so bizarre now when the kids grow up so fast.
Right.
It's hard to see, but that would be pretty awesome. I'd love to see that. It would be hysterical, because then
Yeah.
you've got a whole thing where he's got a father who loves him unconditionally,
Right.
in a bizarre way, but who loves him unconditionally. And I mean,
Yeah.
what little boy doesn't want his father's unconditional love, right?
And approval.
And approval,
Yeah.
right? As the evidence by the opposite of what his father eventually gave him was nothing but I'm disappointed in you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you overcome that? Is the point, right? Because obviously Homelander is a psychopath.
Absolutely.
So how do you overcome that?
Let's talk about that very final scene for just a moment, because the writers have come out straight out and said that was inspired by Donald Trump saying, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody
Right.
and I'd get applause.
Right.
And the moment that happened and I saw that crowd get stunned, I was like, ooh, is this where... And then, of course, it's Mother Milk's
Ex's
her ex's boyfriend, who all of a sudden starts cheering, and I'm like, "You friggin' toad!"
Right.
And then the whole crowd goes nuts.
Yeah.
And then the kid lets out the slightest of smiles. I was like,
Right. Oh boy.
It's just like, oh no, and like,
Oh boy.
or like that final, or like that scene with the boys in the penthouse watching. I forget the lady's name, but the head popper.
"Yeah,
become
Victoria."
vice president.
Yeah. So that's so. There are some things that they've set up rather brilliantly here
Yeah.
that I don't want. Yeah, that can, if they go the way they did in the comics, because they tend to keep they change the minutia of the story, but they tend to keep the grand overreaching themes and whatnot of it. It's going to be very, very interesting knowing what I know of the comics that I don't want to give away here.
Yeah, right.
Because
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Because I haven't read the comics.
Right.
Neither have I.
I haven't read them all, but I've read enough of them, and I've read enough synopses, yada yada yada, over the years that I see what's coming in the comics, and I kind of see the thread where
Right.
it's setting it up, because the final big bad is rather spectacular, and I hope they have the courage to do it justice for the show, because it will take just that.
And also, something I want to talk about is how the Seven is looking right now, because
Well, they're dead.
at this point,
They're the four?
There's
Maeve-
no seven anymore.
Maeve has been
Maeve-
devoured.
Well, Maeve is dead.
No, she's still alive.
They think the world thinks Maeve is dead.
Okay,
As far
so
as
she's
as far as the
dead.
world goes, the Maeve is dead,
Maeve is dead.
and
Right.
Noir is
I
dead.
froze again.
And
Black Noir
but
is
you-
actually dead.
but you still look good. Black Noir is dead.
A-Train, he's using a cane, so he's gonna be out of action for a bit.
Well, but he got a new heart though, right?
Yeah,
So he'll
but
be
like
back.
he's still in recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Deep,
And they even said that. They specifically said that. I got a new ticker, so I'll be back running here very shortly.
Starlight defected.
Starlight's
The Deep,
gone.
he's still there, but he's like security manager.
So what do you got left? You got Homelander,
A-Train and the Deep.
A-Train, and the Deep, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the three.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they keep the seven or if they change the seven.
Oh,
or
I do not know. I don't. I
you know,
think
if
it's just gonna
Vought
be a
decides they're going to, because obviously she's still there. What's her face?
Ashley.
Ashley's still there.
Without her hair.
Without which is
that
awesome.
That reveal,
was messed up.
because Joey's like, well, throughout the series, every time she's ripping, Joey's like, oh my god, or when she, she's nailing that dude, and she, the director,
Right, yeah.
at the beginning, he's
and then
like,
just
he's like, pull my hair, no, rip it out. I was like, oh my god, okay,
It's pretty awesome.
it was.
Or like I also
Disturbing
love
and
how there
awesome.
was a bit of a hint to that in season 2 with her.
Yeah, every
Oh,
time she
yeah.
get nervous, she's just like,
That was the point. Yeah, right.
Or like
That's
she had
pretty
the
awesome.
bald spot too, so
Yeah,
that was the neat
right.
little detail.
Yeah.
And then the final reveal was just like, oh my god!
Yeah,
what
take
did
off
she
your
done
wig.
to herself?
I'm not wearing a wig.
What do you mean?
But that reveal, it kind of reveals her for who she truly is. She looked like a terrified. It's like,
right.
She looked like Gollum.
she did look like
She did
Gollum.
look that calm. Yeah, and I was a little I don't know if disappointed is the right word, but when Maeve, she gives that little sideways glance, like, oh god, here we go, and then so she was gonna sacrifice herself to save everybody, to kick Soldier Boy out the window.
Right.
So when he exploded, he didn't kill everybody, and then it turns out neither of them are dead. I'm
Right.
like, the world might think Maeve is dead, but
Like-
she's not, and
Soldier Boy. Honestly, I would have expected he survived. Like that dude is. Like, unlike Homelander,
And
he is actually indestructible.
And because they left them both alive, they could bring them both back.
Right.
And obviously Maeve will be in the next episode, season for sure.
Well,
Soldier
not-
Boy doesn't necessarily. They could leave him for.
I don't know.
whatever they want to.
obviously.
I don't
Like,
know if Maeve comes
Oh, I
back.
think so because even maybe not as a main character or not as part of the Seven, but something will happen. Well, she's too good. They won't leave her.
That
She's gonna be
character is
super
really good.
popular.
Well-
and the
That's
fact
true,
that
however-
Ashley and her friend, her sycophant, Ashley, saw the tape and then very purposely and specifically hit delete. So that way it doesn't exist anymore. But they still know she's alive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a good moment because it showed some heart. It kind of redeemed her in that one moment. It really
Right.
did kind of redeem
Ashley.
quite a bit if you think about her arc, and so it's brought her humanity back in. But we still know that she still knows that she's out there. So
Yeah.
that doesn't mean she can't pull her back in, or something's going to happen where she's going to have to get her powers back in order to help somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to see Giancarlo Esposito return.
Well, he's just so
Oh, yeah,
good
of
in
course.
everything.
He's
right?
awesome.
I mean,
Everything.
He's a little overused I think, at this point, but he's so good. I mean, how do you not want to see him?
And the thing is, he is getting typecast too.
Right, yeah.
Very much. You've got
I don't
him
think
in-
is getting. I think is. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah,
just
like,
what he's
Moff-
going to be going forward.
Moff Gideon.
He's making plenty of money off of it. Why wouldn't he just keep doing
What's
it?
his name from The Boys? I forgot the character's name.
Stan Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Edgar. The main villain in Far Cry 6. All basically the same.
Far Cry 6. That thing.
Well,
I've
I
heard
was
it
going to
before
go
in my
with
entire
Gus Fring. So,
Right, Gus.
Well,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, but that's where it started, and now all of this is
and
where
despite
it
the
led.
fact that the guy's been acting for 30 years,
Right,
right?
right.
He's been in a million things, but now all of a
Now,
sudden he
yeah.
was so good as Gus Fring. I mean, and I'm watching Better Call Saul, and he is brilliant in that show too.
Right.
I will kill your wife. I will kill your son. I will kill your infant daughter.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you, Joey.
yes. But he's so good at that. And then Moff Gideon was just a spin on that without him having to play the nice guy. But even here, Stan Edgar.
Right.
Stan Edgar is so a carbon copy of Gus Fring. The ruthlessness. The thing that struck me, it's like, well, we will have Temp V available to the soldiers at $5 million a dose.
Right.
So or $6 million. It's like
Whatever it was, yeah.
Oh, $6 million, a squad of 10 for 5 days. That's $300 million. Not bad for a week's work. It's like, God, that's ridiculous. But that's the nature of
Right.
those kind of government contracts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How do we feel about A-Train's story arc?
I kind of like it.
Especially the end of it with his brother.
It's very hard, right? I think you want it to be. You're hoping that he learned something, but he got called out so hard in that episode, and so you're hoping that he learned his lesson.
Yeah,
But at the same time, he's put in this kind of bizarre, almost impossible situation, right? So with everybody, you're trying to determine: is he really a good guy, or is he a bad guy, or is he a good guy in a bad situation?
I
or
think he's a
is he-
bad guy who's beginning on his track to becoming a good guy.
Yeah, that might be a good place to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's finally decided.
He's finally
He realizes how he's messed up.
Right.
He realizes that he needs redemption.
and he's realizing just how messed up everything actually is.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with him in the next season and
Yeah.
where he goes. Is he going to become an agent against Homelander or for Homelander, or because he's proven himself over and over to just be a jerk, a self-centered jerk. Even
Right.
at the beginning of this season, where it's like, oh, you told Homelander about our anti-Homelander group.
Right.
It's like, yeah.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, but now with what's happened with his brother and with the question becomes, and this is my brain moving 500 miles an hour.
Sure.
Yeah.
When it happens to his family, then he realizes what he's done, all the bad that's happened that he's caused. Does his brother's rejection of him make him go deeper down? It's like,
Right. Double down kind of thing.
Screw it.
Right,
if even my family doesn't want me,
Right. Yeah.
why am I gonna why bother for anybody else?
Right. Double down.
Double down,
Yeah.
exactly. And the deep is just, they killed me because it's like, I'm in charge of crime analytics. It's like
What's crime analytics?
Betsy DeVos in charge of that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
And then it's like, well, we need to find him. It's like, well, he fired everybody.
Right.
We are the department. It's like, and then you've got him sitting there with the
Right,
two-finger
yeah.
typing going, I know we can find this.
Those scenes are so good, right? Because they're funny and kind of silly, right? That's
Yeah.
why they're so good.
But also just a little real, which kind of hurts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. You're absolutely right, and that's why they're so good, right?
Right.
They're so real. It'll be interesting to see if they make him, because they could. I mean, this year, Noir was really the kind of tragic character, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Butcher on the second level because you learned of his early trauma and why he is the way he is. But I think Noir's really kind of the tragedy of the whole thing, and they could do that with the deep easy. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he's too much. He's almost comic relief, right?
Right.
He's a buffoon more than he is tragic.
He's how DC fans kind of treated the old Aquaman.
Right, and that's that's always the tongue-in-cheek point, right? You have sex with dolphins, right? I mean,
Right.
they even do that in Aquaman, for God's
Yes.
sakes, or in the cut or
The
the
Snyder
one the
cut.
commercial or something where they made fun of that, right?
Yeah.
Where Aquaman even said that he's like, no, shut up, that kind of thing. So that's the whole point of his character has been that
It was the cameo.
the cameo.
The Aquaman cameo. What was the last DC movie
Where all,
came out?
all four of them showed up in
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Yes. And so
That finale's a bit awkward now because they have the Flash.
and so it'll be interesting to see if they keep him in that role or if they make him a tragic figure, because they could easily turn him into a tragic figure too.
To
who
become
knows?
a tragic figure, you've got to generate some sort of sympathy.
Right. They would have to do
can't-
that. Yes, they would have
that
to do
would
that.
be
Because he
such
just
a
represents
hard
just
sell.
represents everything wrong with men, right? He's a misogynist through and through, right?
Right.
Well, I mean,
He's a
I had
cross-species
I had a
misogynist,
bit
right?
of sympathy for when he had to eat his friend. but,
Well,
like,
sure.
No, I felt
Even
awkward.
But even that was meant to be comic relief, really.
Right.
It wasn't even really meant to be sad. It was more meant to be goofy or funny.
The fact that he couldn't stand up to the fact that his wife in that scene, he was the ultimate cuck in that.
Right,
It's his wife's telling him, just eat it. And Homelander's eating it. He's like, I want to be in this.
It's so gross.
And the look on his face,
Mm-hmm.
part of me, you kind of want to feel bad, but no,
Right.
I have no reason to want to feel bad for him.
No real sympathy for him.
I want to bring someone into our bed. God.
Dude.
yeah.
I can't. I cannot generate sympathy for
Right.
him.
No, I agree. In his current form, that's actually true.
It'll be very, very hard. I'm excited to see what's coming up. No, again, knowing the route that the comic books took, if they only keep the broad, overreaching story and don't, it doesn't have, because like Victoria, the head popper,
Yeah.
is a man in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
A-Train is white in the comics. Now, they make all of these little changes.
And it works.
It does. It very much does.
Yeah, it's a different story. It's a different story set in the same world. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of the way you really need to
Also-
look at it.
Small thing I kind of want to mention is Kimiko, like how they handled Kimiko in season 3, because I really like how we could kind of dip into her imagination, like with all the singing and
The
dancing
song and
stuff.
dance.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that really speaks to her as a character, because like she might be extremely brutal, but in the inside she's all bright and cheery. Like, and it's kind of nice to have that in such a bleak world, you know?
And that's what she wants to be. She wants
Right.
to be like that, and she realizes that's she says anyway. She realizes that's not who she is,
Right.
Yeah.
Even though she's got it inside of her. Yeah.
I think, and Kamiko, aka the woman in the comics, she never gets a name
Has
in
a
the
name,
comics. They
yeah.
always just refer to her as the woman. One of the things that I do like, it's, they depowered her, and all of a sudden she thinks she's going to be happy. She goes through the trauma, and she ends up, having to protect her and Frenchie, and going absolutely apeshit, and realizing, no, the monster's in me.
It wasn't the powers.
Right.
So it's like, well,
Powers
if
just
it's already
help.
going to be here, might as well get the benefits
Right.
of
Powers
superpowers.
just help.
Well, they kind of mentioned that too. It's like I think it was Butcher who said, it doesn't change you. It just makes you more you.
Right. Yeah.
But Kumiko, I like the fact it's like, no, give me my powers back because, I was angry because I didn't have a choice before.
Mm-hmm.
But now I need to protect my family and it's my choice and I will take that chance.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you mentioned before but Butcher's quote about the powers.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of I kind of want to talk about the powers Butcher got, because if the powers only make you more you, then the powers he got kind of show he's a bit of a duality between him and Homelander.
Oh.
A duality.
Well, no.
Wow, that's a
No,
big word.
Yeah, it is. But it's not that he's a duality. He's got all the potential to be a Homelander as Homelander does.
Yeah.
Because, and just like, here's the redeeming, the one thing that redeems Butcher is him knocking Huey out and not letting Huey take that last dose.
That's true.
That potentially fatal. Other than that, and pushing Ryan away doing what he thought he needed to do.
Right, because
to
he's always
protect
been
Ryan.
everything he can do to reach his ends.
Right.
Even taking advantage of Huey and others and everybody else around him.
But I actually just thought of symbolism for Huey's powers, because you remember how he got the teleporting, and his father was always telling him to run away from the big fights.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I just realized that. That is really cool.
And of course he would teleport naked, which always cracks me
Which
up.
was hysterical.
Yeah. But also, kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I saw more man ass and junk in that season than I needed to.
It wasn't
Honestly, I feel-
quite Spartacus, but
Right.
it
I
was
feel
pretty
like
close.
throughout the entire series there has been more male full
No,
frontal than
that's not
female.
true. There was way more in Spartacus, but
No, he's not.
I'm talking
He's talking about he's thinking. And the funny thing is, so I'm sitting there. I watched the Hero Gasm episode. Heather was up in her room. Spence was zoning out on their phone. Normally when they do that, I could drop a nuke in the room and they wouldn't notice. No. The moaning starts and all I get is
what's going on?
no. They don't even look up. They're like, "What the hell am I hearing?"
What are you doing?
And they yell it loud enough that Heather's like, "What's going on?" I don't know. It's some kind of superhero orgy. I'm like, "Oh God!" They weren't wrong.
Not wrong.
It was kind of uncomfortable in that moment.
It was pretty fun.
But yeah,
And I like the Wonder Twins were pretty awesome.
they really were.
TNT, yeah.
Totally the Wonder Twins. I thought
Wonder
that was-
Twin powers
that
activate.
That was so funny, man.
Oh.
See,
Yeah,
you know who
no,
the Wonder Twins are?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay.
okay,
DC heroes, yeah.
I don't know.
yes.
Oh yeah, because Super.
From the Super Friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
They-
So,
they-
all right, are we ready to wrap it up?
It sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be back painting tomorrow night. I'm going to be working on the Juggernaut. I'm working on that Marvel Crisis Protocol piece still, and then after that, I have to make a decision. Either I'm going to start my Golden Demon piece for Adepticon. I'm going to do. I'm going to be submitting the Red Gabo and Bouncer.
Nice.
So I'm going for the silliness,
Sure.
which of course means they're going to throw it right out, but I don't
Yeah.
care. They
Yeah.
produced the piece.
That's right.
Or I'm going to start on the Reaper Red Dragon, the Dragon's Horde with the little dwarf that's robbing them.
I would say do the Adepticon thing, because, there's less of a time limit with the other thing.
Yeah. I'm not going to be putting 100 hours into a squig and a gobbo.
Right.
It's a handful of colors. I'm going to put some good time into it, but I've got plenty of time between now and Adepticon.
Right.
I just got to see how I feel. Next week, hopefully, Pasquale's back with us. We can do Kenobi, which is what we had planned on talking about tonight.
I love that.
Give us some other ideas about the kind of stuff you want us to talk about. I think we should go ahead and do, because I think we had planned to do another convention survival guide, tips and tricks for getting through the conventions.
Ooh, did you bring up your socks method in the first one?
Yes, I will mention that every time we talk about a convention, I will tell you, bring a spare pair of socks and change them. But yeah, I think another convention guide would be good. We got Gen Con in just a couple of weeks.
And I would say it would also be a good idea to do a Stranger Things episode with the 4th season having come out.
But
Yeah. I've watched it, so
Absolutely. So have I.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Looking forward to it. So yeah, we can do that. We've got options because I mean, just our television reviews, right? We got Stranger Things. We just did The Boys. We got Kenobi. We're gonna have Ms. Marvel. If you guys are watching that as well,
Probably not.
why wouldn't you want to watch it? It's so good.
To be honest, I'm
I'm kind of the same way. I watched the first episode and
like
a half, and
I'm sure it's good.
it's fine.
The trouble is, I think Marvel Burnout is finally starting to actually sit.
It is a thing. Well, also Thor just came out, so
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
The reviews I've heard were mixed, but like everyone agrees Christian Bale was good as Gore.
What else? What else? Is there anything else Marvel we could just lump in and make it one episode?
Make it a Marvel
Miss
episode.
Marvel,
Moon Knight,
which I didn't watch. Miss Marvel, which I probably won't watch.
Okay.
Doctor
Thor, I
Strange.
did watch.
Oh no, we
We
did
did
Doctor
Doctor
Strange.
Strange. Strange. Because that's when Todd said he's tired of that trope.
Yeah, right.
What trope?
The
Oh,
women
I'm
sacrifice.
going,
Oh,
to,
yeah,
I'm
that
going
one.
to solve everything by killing myself. Great. Anyway, so yeah, we could totally touch base on multiple things in one episode. If
Oh, yeah.
we wanted
Absolutely.
to do that. That'd be fine.
Hell yeah.
But if you guys have any ideas for us, please send them in to us. Put them on the Discord. Throw them into us. Throw them at us here in the chat. Let us know. We're happy to talk about whatever, because if there's one thing we can do, we can monologue.
That's
So
right.
thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night. I'm Tony.
I'm Joey.
Grognard Todd.
You've had us monologuing. Have a great one.
Ciao.
It's been fun.
Actually, hang on. Before we go away, I'm going to find someone. We're going to raid someone real quick.
Hey.
All right.
Goodbye,
so let
Captain
me-
Sexy Pants.
Muting this. I didn't say I All right, looks like we're going to go check out Wombat Combat Prime. Let's see. Come on, people, stick around. Oh, we're going to be raiding with two of us. So sad. 3, 2, 1, and raiding now. All right. Woohoo!
Woo.
All right. All right, we'll stop.